What up? I'm bored as shit, and I got nothing better to do. And it's last UFC card was last week, so why not rate the UFC cards of the year? I think this is all of them. There are a bunch of repeats here. This is UFC 294. Sterling, Poirier, Gaethje, 2, Strickland. Yeah, this isn't actually all of them. Here, let me quick find a better one. There's a lot from 2023. I'm gonna see if there's any UFC pay-per-views for 2023, because it's alright. Doesn't have the most recent one, which is Covington versus wait, was Gaethje Poirier the last pay-per-view? 26296. No, 296 just happened, so 295 was Rahashka Piera, which isn't on this list. Oh no, it is. Oh no, wait, this is all of them. Okay. That's good. So this is the one. Right. There we are. Okay. Let's get rating. We'll go from... We'll just read it normally. Okay. Actually, before we do that... Not a row below. E and F. There we go. Let's make this one purple. A little lighter purple. Wait, what's the D color? That one? Okay. That, and then that. Alright. A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay. So, right off the bat, we got the most recent card. Edwards, Covington, Pantoja, Royval. How do I rate this? Alright. If we look at the card... I'm just going to whip it up. UFC 296. Alright. So, we're going to rate it as a whole, including early prelims. So, early prelims, we had Martin Buday versus Shamil Gaziev, which was... It was an okay fight. It's okay for heavyweights, which is bad for every other division. Andre Fili versus Lucas Almeida was a great knockout. We love seeing an Andre Fili W here because he is a boy. Tagir Ulanbekov submits Cody Durden. We love to see a Cody Durden loss. Casey O'Neill versus Ariane Lipski. That was a good submission. Cody Garbrandt versus Brian Kelleher was fine. Irene Aldana versus Carol Rosa was a very, very fun fight. Alonzo Menenfield versus Dustin Jacoby was hilarious, as most light heavyweight fights are. Then we got main card of Josh Emmett, Bryce Mitchell, Ferguson Pimblett, Shavkat Thompson, Pantoja Royval, Edwards Covington. So, I think this card, there was quite a bit of knockouts, which I will say I'm not the biggest fan of knockouts in the first minute, because then you just have to deal with an extra 15 minutes of the desk and ads, and then you also have, and also it doesn't really tell you much about the matchup or the fight, but they are exciting. The main event was fun, and the build-up was I'm not really into that sort of stuff, of all that trash talk. The fight itself, it was fun seeing Covington get whooped. and dog walked in wrestling. And I do like Edwards. Pantoja versus Royval was a fun fight. It had a bunch of really exciting grappling. And Pantoja is one of my favorite fighters. Shavkat versus Thompson was kind of a snooze, but I mean, ended up with a Shavkat submission. And he did it with a broken ankle, which is very impressive. Ferguson Pimblett was just sad. Emmett Mitchell was a very scary knockout. I think overall it's a C. It's very middling of a pay-per-view because there were exciting moments with the Irene Aldana Carol Rosa fight. Menafield Jacoby was very funny and quite exciting. Garbrandt Kelleher is a KO. Casey O'Neill, Ariana Lipsky. We saw Ariana Lipsky pull off another very violent submission. Feely caught a W. It was a very middling card because despite the strong prelims and early prelims, the main card kind of failed to deliver in anything extremely exciting apart from Pantoja Royval. So yeah, it's a very middle of the pack card. Next up, we have Prochazka Pereira. Prochazka Pereira, Pavlovich Aspinall, Andrade Dern, Frivola Saint-Denis, Lopez Sabatini, Ursig Costa. Oh, Ursig Costa. I feel like that was a fun fight. Richie Godinez, Mateusz Rebecki versus Roosevelt Roberts. Nazim Sadzikov versus Vyacheslav Borshev. That was a super fun fight. Gordon Madsen was good knockout. John Castaneda versus Kung Kyung Ho. That was a pretty exciting fight. Joshua Vaughn versus Kevin Borjas. Dennis Buzuksha versus Jamal Emmers. Okay. This was a really good card actually. It was pretty stacked on the early prelims. You did have Kung Kyung Ho. You had Gordon versus Madsen, which was a pretty entertaining fight. Madsen came out with very dirty boxing and using the collar tie, and Gordon just knocked him out because Madsen's kind of chinny. Castaneda versus Kung Kyung Ho. It was pretty fun. I think the main one from this card is Nazim Sadikov versus Vyacheslav Borshev. That was a exceptionally fun fight with so many ups and downs in it. Ended in a draw because of a 10-8 by Nazim Sadikov, and Vyacheslav clutched it up with 2 rounds, or clutched it up in the third. And then you had Mateusz Rebecki, who I love because he's Polish and he's built like a bowling ball, submit Roosevelt Roberts, who came in last minute. Tabitha Ricci versus Luby Godinez, don't remember. Steve Ursig versus Alessandro Cosa, I remember being pretty fun. Main card though, Diego Lopez versus Pat Sabatini was a super fun, short fight. Saint-Denis versus Frivola was extremely fun for how short it was. Andrade versus Dern was very fun. And then you just had the two... It was a very short card. A lot of first-round KOs. Not many long, drawn-out fights, apart from the Vyacheslav Borshev one. That was exceptional. And the Steve Ursig. Oh, yeah, some on the early prelims as well. This was a really good card. I'd put it in A. I don't think it's S here. S is like the Singapore card I would put as S from 2022. Makachev, Volkanovski, Usman Chimaev. Oof, this card is ass. I am sorry. It was an amazing card on paper, but because of pullouts, it got it into... It was still good, but I much rather would have preferred Oliveira fighting and Costa fighting. Ikram Aliskerov fighting Vorley Alves, and then the Ankalaev Walker one. Saeed Nurmagomedov. I mean, Saeed Nurmagomedov fight was pretty enjoyable, but his opponent Muin Gafurov not very good. The Usman Chimaev fight wasn't very fun. Elliot Mukayev also wasn't very exciting. Muhammad Yahya versus Trevor Peek. I think that was fun. I don't exactly remember. Javid, oh yeah, the Javid Basharat versus Victor Henry fight, yeah. Cedric Dumas versus Abu Azaitar. Mike Breeden and Shul Jubilee. Oh, that was a pretty fun fight. Nathaniel Wood versus Muhammad Naimov. That was exciting, apart from the fact that Nathaniel Wood got fouled to oblivion, and then you had Shara Bullet on the opening it. This was not a good card. Give me a sec. I just got a call. Anyways, yeah, it just wasn't very good. I'm sorry. There wasn't any like super exciting fights. The only exciting ones were the Nathaniel Wood one and the. Actually, yeah, that's just it. Nathaniel Wood. Yeah. It just wasn't a very good card. Is it Edwards Covington level? I think Edwards Covington at least had Pantoja vs. Royval 2 on it, which was a lot more enjoyable than a lot of the fights on this card. It also had... I'm forget. It also had a bunch of really nice KOs and finishes on it. Yeah. Whereas the Makachev Volkanovski 2 card was lacking in finishes and exciting fights. So it goes below. Next up we have... What do we have next? Adesanya Strickland card. This is... Actually, this... As main cards go, it's quite weak. But it was a pretty good card in terms of entertaining fights. So going from the early prelims, we had Shane Young versus Gabriel Miranda. Or Kevin Juice versus Kiefer Crosby. Opening it up with a submission... first round submission. Then Shane Young versus Gabriel Miranda. Another first round submission. Is that Blood Diamond? Yeah, that's Blood Diamond versus Charles Radke. Then Nasrat Haqparast versus Landon Quinones. Jamie Malarkey versus John Makdessi. That was a fun fight. Jack Jenkins versus Shepe Mariscal was a good one. Carlos Ulberg submitting Dan Jung was pretty impressive. Very fun. Tyson Pedro versus Anton Turkalje. The Pleasure Man is what I'm going to call him. That was fun. Justin Toffa carrying Austin Lane was fun. Oh, no, wait. That's Tyson Pedro. He's the guy who did the samurai thing when he KO'd him. Yeah. Then you had Manel Kape versus Felipe Dos Santos, which is a super fun fight. Volk versus Tuivasa was fun. And then we had Adesanya Strickland, which was a big upset. This is a pretty banger card. Looking back, I definitely would not pay the $70 for it, but it was a pretty fun card. Okay, then we have the Sterling O'Malley card. Going from early prelims, we had Karine Silva versus Marina Moroz, Andrea Lee versus Natalia Silva, Andrew Petrosky versus Gerald Mearshart, Brad Katona versus Cody Gibson, Kurt Hollabog versus Austin Hubbard, Gregory Rodriguez versus Denise Tululin. Gregory Rodriguez, fun fighter. Oh my god, this guy's record is 10-9-1. Oh my god. Then Weidman versus Tavares was just sad. Then we had Vera Munoz. Really, that was on this card? That was meh. Damon Blackshear versus Mario Batista. I feel like that was a fun fight. You know, Magny versus Ian Gary, Zhang versus Lemos, and Sterling versus O'Malley. I think solely for Sterling versus O'Malley, as a moment, it should be in C, because it's really lacking in in standout fights. Because I'm looking at this card, and my eyes are just glazing over. Like, I'm like, oh, that was a fight, you know. The Zhang performance was fun. There was big moments. It was just sheer domination. Like, the main event and co-main event were fun for this card, but everything else is kind of lackluster. And again, you have Damone Blackshear versus Mario Bautista on the main card. Yikes. So, and now we have Poirier Gaethje all the way over here. So, again, early prelims. Miranda Maverick versus somebody. Matthew Semmelsberger versus Urdos Medish. That was a fun fight. Jake Matthews versus Darius Flowers was a fun fight. Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Ribeiro was that was a super fun fight. CJ Vergara versus Vinicius Salvador. Okay. Bonfim versus Giles was fun. Chiesa versus Holland was fun. Ferguson versus Green was sad. Lewis versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima was just very funny. Blachowicz versus Pajeda was pretty decent. And then Poirier versus Gaethje was a great 2 rounds. This is is it B? Or is it A? I think A. Because its floor as a card was quite high. And this main card looks pretty good, and I remember watching it being like, oh, it's pretty fun. And then I got really sad because Poirier lost, but I'm not going to let that cloud my judgment. So I definitely think it's an A tier card. Now we have Volk versus Rodriguez, which had, okay, I think this is our first S tier card. Early prelims, we have Kamuela Kirk versus Esteban Ribovic. Shannon Ross versus Jesus Aguilar. That was fun. Cameron Simon versus Terrence Mitchell was fun. Vitor Petrino versus Marcin Prachnio was fun. Jimmy Crew versus Menafield was good. Yasmin Jaraguay versus Denise Gomez. 21 seconds and it's a women's strawweight fight. Taida got a decision. The Latino killer. Lawler versus Price was super good just for the moment. Then main card is where things went absolutely insane. Bo Nicol, Valwood Berta open. Okay, it's alright. Then Turner versus Hooker. That was a super good fight. Really high level. Really high level and really entertaining. Back and forth. Then we have Whitaker versus Dricus du Plessis. Big upset, fun to watch. And then fight of the year, in my opinion, versus Brandon Moreno and Alexandre Pantoja. And then we got Volk doing what Volk does best in the main event with him versus Rodriguez in a very good fight. That's an S tier card. It has fight of the year, in my opinion. It has oh my god, I'm tripping over my words. Then it has a runner-up with Turner versus Hooker. A upset with Whitaker versus du Plessis. And then just domination with Bo Nicol. Great moment with Lawler and Price. You have Taida doing just what Taida does. Jimmy Crute versus Alonzo Menafield. This is a great card. It's probably, that's an S tier card. My god. Oof. Yeah, this one. So I will say I'm going to be biased on Nunes versus Aldana because they have a lot of Canadian fighters on it. Prelims up. We have Diana Belbita versus Maria Oliveira. David Dvorak versus Steve Ursig. I think that was a fun fight. Kyle Nelson versus Blake Builder. I was happy for Kyle there. Ayman Zahabi versus Chilang Audi. Or Audi Chilang. Ayman Zahabi, brother to Faraz Zahabi, Canadian gym icon, TriStar. That was fun. Round 1 KO. Jasmine Judavicius versus Miranda Maverick. Another Canadian win. Nasruddin Imavov versus Chris Curtis. I didn't watch that. And then we have Burial catching a dub against Anders. Ige picking up a decision versus Landwehr. Mike Malone getting a submission versus Adam Fuget. And then the real main event, Oliviera versus Dariush. That card is eat. Oliviera Dariush could not save it, man. Even as a Canadian, simply having Pena versus Nunes or Aldana versus Nunes as the main event already put it in F. Like, the only reason it is not F is because of Oliveira. That's it. If it wasn't for him, it would be F. All right. Now we have Sterling Cejudo. Sterling Cejudo. It was a fun competitive fight, the main event. It was just, my takeaway when I was watching it was Cejudo has no idea what to do when somebody's just giving him the front headlock, which I'm like, bro, you're a wrestler. Shouldn't you be able to do something with this? Co-main, we had Bilal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns. Super disappointing because Burns was fighting one-armed for it. And even then, Bilal couldn't close the show. Jessica Andrade versus Yan Xiaonan was a fun fight. I personally thought it was an upset. That was a good fight. Movsar Evloev versus Diego Lopez was exceptional. That was a great fight. Charles Jourdain versus Chrome Gracie was fun. You have Dober Frivola. Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Devin Clark. Chaos Williams. Mariano Rodriguez picking up or losing a decision to Verna Jandaroba. Phil Hawes getting KO'd by Ikram Aliskarov. This was this is probably a C tier fight. If Bilal versus Burns delivered, then it would probably be a B tier fight. But unfortunately, that is such a asterisk on this. Actually, you know what? It is going to be B tier. Because despite Bilal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns... Sorry, my alarm went off. Even with Bilal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns, Andrade versus Xiaonan is too good of a fight to give up. Or to warrant a C tier. Because you had a competitive main event with Cejudo Sterling. And you also had a great fight with Evloev Lopez. And another great performance with Yan Xiaonan versus Andrade. Yeah, I think that's a B tier fight. Those two fights push it up there. Now we have UFC 287 with Pereira versus Adesanya 2. We have Burns versus Masvidal. What the heck? That was a fight that happened? Oh my god. Burns versus Masvidal. Oh my god, that was a fight? I don't remember anything from it. Wow. You know, I think that says something about it when I can't remember anything about the fight. And it was against two top welterweight contenders. I think that says something. Trying to see if I remember anything. Yeah, okay, no, this fight looks garbage. Okay. Font versus Yanez, though. That was a great fight. Ponzinibbio versus Holland was fun. Holohosis Jr. got fraud checked. Gastelum Curtis was fun. Mershart Pfeiffer was good. Bahamondes always puts on fun fights. Shailin Nordembeka lost, unfortunately, but that was a good performance. Great main event with what happened. I definitely think, though, I think it's another B. You had a great moment with Pereira versus Adesanya, too. That was a great result. You had a great fight with Font versus Yanez, great fight with Ponzinibbio Holland. You had a fraud check with Hosas Jr. versus Rodriguez. Another great fight with Curtis and Gastelum. Michelle Watterson losing a decision. And then a couple great KOs on it. Burns versus Masvidal is a big smear on it. Big smear. But apart from that, it was a pretty fun card. Edwards versus Usman 2, though. Oh, this was a good card. This might be another A. Great competitive fight with the main event. Gaethje versus Fiziev, great fight. Nelson versus Barberena was nice to see, with Nelson making a comeback. Jennifer Maia versus Casey O'Neill, no memory of it. Vittori Delice, though, now that's a great one. Shore versus Makwan Amirkhani was fun. Chris Duncan picked up a decision. Muhammad Mokayev. Yanal Ashmuz. Lerone Murphy had a good fight. Christian Leroy Duncan, he's the guy I think about. Yeah, he had a great performance on this card. Jake Hadley with the KO over Malcolm Gordon. Joanna Wood with a decision. And then Ludovic Klein versus Jai Herbert. This was okay. I was gonna say it was gonna be an A, but everything apart from the main card is. But that main card, that was a really good main card. Apart from the Jennifer Maia Casey O'Neill, because I don't remember anything from it. John Jones versus Cyril Gane. See, you have John Jones winning, which I hate, but you also have Shevchenko losing, which I love. Oh, and the Jeff Neal versus Shavkat fight is on this. Turner versus Gamera was very fun. Nicole versus Piggott. Garbrandt with the decision over Jones. Derek Brunson versus losing to Dricus du Plessis was super funny. Julian Marquez versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Amanda Hibos catching a dub. Gary KOing Song Kanan. Cameron Simon catching his first dub, I think. Farid Basharat beating Damone Blackshear. This is a pretty good card. I'm going to put an A. I mean, if I let my personal feelings get in the way, this card is going in B because John Jones got a dub, and I can't allow that. But it was a fun card. Speaking of fun cards, first Volk versus Islam card. A amazing main event. Highest level MMA I've ever seen. What an amazing fight. Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett in the co-main. Another great fight. Really showed how dangerous Rodriguez was and is. JDM getting a first round KO versus Randy Brown. Justin Toffa KOing Parker Porter. Ugh. Pedro losing a decision to Modestas Bukauskas. Kulabau. Oh, the Kulabau fight was super fun. Versus Melsik Bagdasarian. That was a really good fight. I really enjoyed that. Shannon Ross getting KO'd against Clayton Rodriguez. Don't remember the Jamie Malarkey fight. Sabota Tugahuga versus Elvis Brenner was on it. I mean, simply for the main event, man. That main card, those first 3 fights were insane. I can't. Simply for the main event, this card is an S tier. Like, I was creaming myself. I was wearing my Adidas shorts. Bro, the colors inversed that night. It was insane. The the black became white and the white became black. That's how much I was, like, losing it. Oh my god, just the ability shown in that fight. My god. Bro, I'm gonna be leaving stains just thinking about it. Oof. And then the first card of the year, Teixeira versus Hill. I'm not even gonna look at it. I'm putting that in E. You know what? Actually, I'm doing that because this is so bad, man. Bro, Canada got railed with this one. But other than that, oh my lord. Yeah, because of the crowd, man, it was so bad. They walked out on Glover Teixeira's retirement. Just sheer depression, man. Like just for the crowd alone, that goes an E. Um, Fight wise, it was also sad. Fight wise, the early prelims and the prelims were fun. You had the Bonfim brothers debuting. Dalby caught a W. Stamen caught a W. But Tiago Moises, Gregory Rodriguez versus Bruno Ferreira was fun. But then then the depression just started setting in. Mauricio Hua versus Ihor Potiera. Craig versus Walker. Lauren Murphy versus Andrade. That was fun. The Burns, we're picking up steam. Figueroa versus Moreno, okay. It was a fun fight, and then Teixeira versus Hill was just so sad. It just was not a night for old men, and we love our old men here. So yeah, that's how I would rate the UFC cards. It was a pretty decent year. I think it's weak when you compare it to 2022. Because if I look at the list I made for my favorite fights of 2023, it's a lot shorter than my favorite fights of 2022. I think this year wasn't the best for MMA. I'm going to be real with you. A lot of big upsets, I will say that, but not many bangers, just straight bangers. I guess the closest was this one, Pantoja Moreno, right there. That was super fun fight, but nothing's beating Teixeira versus Prochazka as the best fight of all time. Nothing's beating it. I should organize these. I think that's valid. This is a better card than that. That was a great card. Yeah, I think that's well ordered. Put this above at the top, maybe. Put that there. These are interchangeable. I think this one's a better one than Pantoja versus Royval is really fun. But Zhang versus Lemos was great, and Sterling versus O'Malley was good. And then these are... Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, super short stream. I just wanted to get this over with, because... why not? Right? Why not, talk about these this year? Do a little bit of reminiscing. I'm probably gonna come back and stream something else, but for now, yeah, that's it. Ciao. Just want to do a really short one. I probably, what will I do? I want to try and make a video on UFC fighters, make a couple of YouTube shorts on some unknown ones. Because I have a list. I'm just going to go through the list. I have it on my phone. So my list of less known UFC fighters, we have Derek Cruikshank, Amir Sadallah, Ross Pearson, Eve Edwards, Joaquim Hansen, TJ Grant, Koiji Oishi, Diego Brandao, Ricardo Lamas, Josh Thompson, Jussier Formiga, Brad Pickett, Tatsuya Kawajiri, Melvin Manhoof, Mansour Barnui, Lorenz Larkin, Roberto Soldic, Yuki Nakai, Sexyama, Shinya Aoki, Takanori Gomi, Yushin Okami, Hongman Choi, Park Jun-young, Roman Kopylov, Jared Brook, Joseph Benavidez, and Genki Sudo. A lot of Japanese fighters. Some of these most people probably know, but because MMA is such a new sport and there's been a lot of new fans in more recent years, I think talking about people like Joseph Benavidez, Hongman Choi, Shinya Aoki, Juicy Formiga, Ricardo Lamas, those guys, I think it's important to talk about them so that new fans kind of know, some of the old guard, because Juicy Formiga was the guy around lightweight. Same with Joey B. They were both, or not lightweight, featherweight. They were both title contenders. I think Juicy Formiga fought for the title. I'm just gonna check that. Juicier Formiga. And when DJ left, Formiga was still kicking about, catching W's. No, he did not fight for the title. Nope, didn't fight for the title. But, yeah, Juicier Formiga, he's beaten Figueiredo, Pettis, Ben Nguyen, lost to Joey B, Moreno, Perez. Like, Formiga was around when DJ was around, and kind of goes to show that DJ's competition was good. He just made them look subpar. Same with Joey B, Yeah, same with Joey B. And there's a lot to say about Joseph Benavidez. He had a great fighting style. He's married to... Who's that girl? He's married to the girl, Megan O'Leary. He was a Team Alpha Male standout. Yeah. And Ricardo Lamas, oh my lord. I saw that guy's retirement fight. He's so fun. He was a super fun fighter, fought Jose Aldo. And I think a lot of these fighters are like top 5 to 15 kind of fighters who are kind of forgotten in time. Because people remember the title challengers, right? And the title contenders, but nobody remembers the guys who were kind of drifting around in that division, trading rankings. Lorenz Larkin, Mansar Barnui, or Lawrence Larkin, Shinya Aoki, Yushin Okami, Park Jun Young, Roman Kopylov, Jared Brook, Josh Thompson, Darren Cruikshank, Eve Edwards, Joaquin Hansen, TJ Grant. Like, all these guys are kind of like people who drifted around the rankings, not really standing out when either in their time in the UFC or outside, or, well, Shinya Aoki, but you catch the drift. These are people who deserve more fame and more notoriety than what they got, especially Eve Edwards. I have not seen any Eve Edwards content on YouTube. I'm gonna fact check myself right now. Eve Edwards. Yep, Eve Edwards highlight video, 1.4K views. Like, Eve Edwards, he deserves more, man. He was so creative. He kind of originated a bunch of styles and kind of personalities in the UFC. And he was just so fun. Such a fun fighter. He was Tony Ferguson before Tony Ferguson. Even then, he wasn't even Tony Ferguson. He was more creative and more wacky with his stuff. So making a video on Eve Edwards is, I think, very important. TJ Grant, Canadian icon, he got scammed out of a title shot due to getting a concussion in training. Ricardo Lamas, most known for the pointing to the ground, or for the Max Holloway clip where he points to the ground in the trade. Josh Thompson, one of 2 bad commentators at Bellator. Brad Pickett is a UK legend. Melvin Manhoef, guy who KO'd Mark Hunt. You might know him for that. Or losing to Yoel Romero in Bellator. Roberto Soldic just lost, or not just lost, but he most recently lost to Kadastam. Saksayama is a Korean-Japanese MMA icon. Shinya Aoki, same thing, minus the Korean part, just a Japanese MMA icon, and kind of a douche, but he's a fun douche. Takanori Gomi, OG Japanese fighter. Yushin Okami, same thing with him. Hongman Choi, OG freak show fighter, and he was a actual successful kickboxer during his time. And then we have modern ones with Park Jun-young, Iron Turtle, who I think more people should know, and Roman Kopylov, who has had a Filthy Casuals guide written about him. And then there's a couple more like Genki Sudo, Yuki Nakai, Lawrence Larkin, Mansar Barnui in Bellator, Tatsuya Kawajiri, Koichi Oishi, Amir Sadala. Ooh, I should do one on Linton Vassal. That was a good one. Linton Vassal. Linton Vassal. That's a good one. Yeah. Oh. Kyoji Horiguchi. The best. Kyoji Horiguchi. Best Japanese fighter outside the UFC. And honestly, he could have been flyweight champ, I think. Anywho. Yeah. So I want to blast out some of these YouTube shorts. I think I want to get a template done and then just like fill in clips and fill in voice and then just post them. Like blast out. Yeah. And then I'll probably I want to try making a long form video on how to read and break down disinformation on the internet and how to properly like study things, because I feel like it's a skill that a lot of people don't have, is to look at data and be able to just tell whether or not it's trustworthy or not. Because if you're presented data points and presented data, you have to think about like, okay, what's the message they're trying to send here? Can this data be skewed to, support this message? Are they skewing the data? What's the source? A bunch of those types of questions where I think that it's not common knowledge on how to decipher whether or not someone's trying to sell you something or sell you a viewpoint or an opinion. So I think a video talking about how to do that, how to tell, would be important, and I think it's something I can talk about. Yeah. Or, alternatively, I'll just get a VTuber avatar and freaking play video games, man. Nothing beats that, huh? I mean, that's a market when you think about it. Like, what VTuber watches MMA and exists? Bro, I was so sad when all Korone talks about for martial arts is that she just said, I do boxing, and then it ended at that. Like, come on, Korone. Like, I want you to talk about boxing. Like, I want her to come in one stream and be like, yo, man, I just saw Naya anyway annihilate Fulton, and I was in the gym practicing my left hook to the body and cutting angles and pressuring my opponent into the corner, looking for check hooks and stuff. I want her to go in on technique. That would be so funny. Seeing an anime girl talk about how to beat someone up in the most efficient way possible. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I have just a super viewed and niche Venn diagram of hobbies of MMA and VTubers. But also it's like anime and martial arts are kind of already intrinsically tied with how many martial arts manga have been published. Red Blue, Teppu, Striker Rich Girls, Kengan Ashura, All Rounder Meguru, Hajime no Ippo. Like, these are all realistic martial arts mangas, and it kind of just goes to show that martial arts and manga have a strong correlation. Especially with the fact that Japan has been the originator and has a very strong mixed martial arts scene. You know? So, yeah, I think a VTuber talking about martial arts and UFC and all that is a market that exists. Look, I'm not saying anything, but I saw a couple Watame, a couple Niji Sanji Hololive profile pictures when I was browsing the um, r/MMA subreddit. All I'm saying, people are there. But yeah, I can't be the only person who had to have decided whether or not to watch UFC fight nights and UFC pay-per-views or watch Kiryu Koko's meme reviews. I can't be the only person who had to make that decision. I refuse to believe it. And if I am, well, you can shoot me in the leg and call me Greg. But yeah. Those are the two. Man, how much does it cost to get a VTuber avatar? Like what, 2K? Because you have to pay for the artist and then pay for the rigger? And also, bro, I couldn't imagine designing and creating a VTuber. How many layers do you, like, bro, you're basically making a cake. You're making baklava with a character essentially with how many layers is going into it. You're making a baklava that can move. you know? A baklava mech. Yeah. That's what all VTubers are. And if it's Italian, then it's a lasagna. Or tiramisu. Or tiramisu's layered. I don't know. Probably. All cake is layered. Because then you have pastry cream, pastry cream. Yeah. I'm right. Also, how do you get into rigging? Like, you just, like, fool around? I guess, like, with it's probably similar to every other internet niche and hobby that becomes a career option where it's just you dicking around in a program until you're like, wait a second, I'm kind of good at this. And then you start selling your services and you realize people need those services. That's probably what it is, huh? It's kind of like how, like, half the people on YouTube Shorts with Blender content, I'm gonna go out on a limb. They probably didn't take like a course in Blender, okay? They probably just kicked it, like, downloaded it on Steam, was like, damn, this shit looks crazy. They dick around, they slap the keyboard, go chimp mode with their 1,000 typewriters, and then whammo, they created a magnum opus, the Mona Lisa of our time, and they're like, damn, I'm pretty good at this. Bang, YouTube content. They don't even need to make the Mona Lisa. There's that one Blender artist who makes low poly animals. She's great, or they're great. Same with animation. Like, the power of the internet has made it so that you don't really need to go through an animation school. If you just have the talent and you have the tools, you could just post it on Twitter and then, like, Kaguya-sama will pick you up and be like, hey bro, you want to make an ending scene for our anime? And then people on the internet will then just absolutely gush both emotionally and physically to it. A reference to that 17-year-old or 19-year-old Indonesian kid or Southeast Asian guy who created a dance battle for the Kaguya-sama anime ending. That dude is cracked. Or there was a 17-year-old who animated like a Jujutsu Kaisen scene. The Toto one. The Toto, like, schizophrenia Black Flash was animated by a 17-year-old or something. Like, and that, I'm gonna just say it, I don't think he went to animation school. You know? I don't even think he's old enough to. And he's already cooking bangers. Yeah, age of the internet, huh? Just do whatever. I can sit here streaming and fucking posting tier lists. I mean, streaming is more about like, to me, it's more about. Ugh, excuse me, talking too much. Streaming is more about voicing my thoughts and having a place to go back and look at and be like, oh, I said that before. Because, bro, I feel like everybody's on this where they're sitting in bed and they can't sleep and then they just start talking to themselves and then you come up with like the most philosophical and deep thoughts you have ever had. Like, you become so retrospective and introspective when you are struggling to stay awake. So having a place where you can then, you know, post that and go back to and be like, hey, I said that. That was kind of banging. I think that's sick. And also, playing games sometimes, I feel like, man, I'm not really doing much with it, you know? Like, ooh, I'm HR 98 in Monster Hunter 4U. Ooh. Streaming kind of adds artificial value to it because it's like, okay, well, I'm playing a game, but I'm also streaming, which could lead to something, you know? So streaming also makes playing games seem more valuable than it actually is. I remember I was addicted to Overwatch, and the way I broke my addiction was looking in the mirror and saying to myself, or thinking to myself like, I'm molding and I am playing this game for hours on end for internet points, like for a digital value to go up. Like, I'm not gonna go pro in Overwatch. I'm not good enough. Why am I so invested in it? And it's not giving me joy. It's just like, it's like a job I'm clocking into. And then I just stopped playing Overwatch after that. And I haven't touched it since, like, God. Sigma? Sigma was around for a bit. Before they made a 5v5, like, the Italy map was around. Before Junker Queen. Man, when did I stop playing Overwatch? I could probably go to my account and see. But nah, I haven't touched that thing in a while. I have like every Reinhardt skin though. I was so good at Reinhardt. I was such a good tank player. Too bad being a tank doesn't matter. Good old days. Anywho, I'm just going to be talking until I get to the hour mark because I think a stream under an hour is kind of redundant. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of redundant, my life. Lol, JK. I'm trying to think of a topic, but I can't think of one. I'm just going to talk about manga again. I'm just going to talk about manga again for another, like, 10 minutes. I was reading 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You. Oh my god, it is peak fiction. I definitely think some of the latest chapters and the latest girlfriends that they added are kind of weak with the Brazilian one, but my lord, it is so. I think that's just because she hasn't been properly developed. But my lord, looking at being the girlfriends that have been introduced and going back to see their evolution and everything, I love Yama or Yamame, the big gentle giant character. I love Bunoji, the drunkard ethics teacher, and my goat, Uto, the bard. Like, those three are like, oh, I love them so much. And that's the beauty of 100 Girlfriends. You can like any of them, and you know they're going to win and be happy in this harem. I totally didn't take that from Giguk. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it's so goated, and the humor translates pretty well. I think that mainly goes... I think that those props goes to the scanlation and translation team, But man, they were cooking with these translations, and the author was cooking with the fourth wall breaks, bro. Like having Rentado go to the to the illustrator and author and be like, "Yo, man, I need to gain muscle pain. Please let me work for you." And then Rentado pointing out like, "Hey, man, your editor told you you only have to draw 5 characters, you know, like, and you drew 13. You didn't have to do that." And she's like, "I love all of my children equally." And you're like, "Oh my god, she's such a based author." I think it's a she, Noizawa. Yeah, it is a she. I swear. Um, but honestly, great, 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 great. I think that, bro, I can't even predict what girlfriends will be added. Is there going to be an alien, a ghost character, Bigfoot? Like, I don't know. I feel like they're going to hit a Miko eventually. They have to hit a Miko, and then like a journalist, photographer kind, and then like a student council president. They're going to hit a student council member. They have to. It's going to. Oh my god. I see it in my mind's eye. Predicting the future here. He is going to get called to the student council because, like, the student council is gonna be like, "Hey, look, man, you're dating 22 people or like 30. What the fuck?" So they're gonna call him in. He's gonna walk in, look across the little oval office they have in there, zings across the board. Bang! You have 5 girlfriends and every student council member. And then it's gonna be a trope where they like literally own the government or something, because this manga is a not a stereotype. What's the word? It's a, oh my god, I can't think about it. Parody. It's a parody of high school dramas and romance and harems. Also, isn't it weird? Like a harem. Isn't harem like a Middle Eastern word? And then Japan has like adopted it, or maybe it's the Western view that has adopted harem to describe that. I don't know. I'm not a linguist. A linguist. But yeah, definitely student council member. Even though they have Chio, who's kind of like the disciplinary, the public, disciplinary kind of character. But they're gonna hit a student council member. They're gonna hit a Miko. They're gonna hit. Man, what else is there? Swimmer. They're gonna hit a swimmer. I know that they're gonna hit a swimmer. Then a photographer and or journalist character, and then an, oh wait, they just did an idol. Hmm. Yeah, those 3, student council member, Miko, journalist. Oh, swimmer 4. Those 4 are what they're gonna hit. Because right now they have, oh my god, I'm gonna try and rail them off top of my head. Tsundere, um, and then horny girl, and then they hit quiet, shy librarian girl, then efficient like kudere girl, and then they hit drug girl, scientist, then they hit hungry girl, then they hit girl's mom, then they hit who do they hit? They hit super beautiful girl, and then they hit masochist girl, then they hit, oh my god, I can't think, cousin girl, Chio, and then they hit grandma, then they hit maid, then they hit maid sister, then they hit, oh my god, who was after the maid? Then they hit Chuni, then they hit Gyaru, then they hit Gentle Giant, then they hit, oh my god, American, Yankee, girl. Who else did they do? I think I'm at 18 now. I dig mom and grandma. Bro, just saying that is weird. Who else did they hit? They hit Capoeira Girl, they hit Idol, they hit Violinist, they hit Ethics Teacher, they hit... Who else? Oh, Groping Girl. Momoji or Momiji. Momoji. Oh, and then the shy one. Mimi. Or Meme. That one they hit as well. Gosh. I'm struggling to name the other couple. I said Capoeira Girl. Oh, Math Girl. They hit Math Girl. Yeah, that's all I can think of. Oh, Chivalry Girl. They hit Chivalry Girl. I said Bard Girl. Alright, those are all I can name off the top of my head. And honestly, valid. I'm okay with naming that many, bro. But yeah, it's one of my favorite... It's probably one of my favorite gag mangas of all time. It's very fun. I think that's my manga recommendation. 100 Girlfriends. If you want like a vibe of it, you can watch the anime and also watch Gigug's video on it. Such a great one. Such a banger. Go read it. It's great. Fuck you. See you later, bitch. I'm gonna die and sleep.